Welcome to the Marc The Shark MMA show. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel as well as my Twitch channel. And if you can, check out the website as well if you want to be interviewed on a show or even help support the channel by buying a hoodie or a t-shirt. It's at www.markthesharkmmashow.com. You can even go there if you want to sign up and be on the show. And if you can't, go to RitortoFamilyBooks.com and pick up an autographed copy of my book, The Kabbalah Saga Begins, or check out the books my daughter have written. They're also available on Amazon.com. All right, everybody, sit back and enjoy the show. Marc The Shark MMA show. All right, everybody, we're live now. Live on Twitch, the Marc The Shark MMA show. Today we got MMA fighter Cato. Cato, as some people call him, I guess, in the MMA world. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Mark. I really appreciate the opportunity and inviting me on, man. Thank you so much. Today's a great day. How are you today?
Man. Yeah, man. It was great. It's great having you on here. And you're from Oklahoma, right?
Oklahoma City all the way. You see, we represent. We got a game tonight against Denver. We're trying to go take that championship. You know, we lost Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant and all our good guys, and it was a stab in the heart for Oklahoma City, but we're rebuilding. So we got a bright future ahead of us.
That's great, man.
Support Oklahoma City Thunder.
I got to say, you're the first person on the show from Oklahoma. I've had a lot of people from Missouri, people from Jersey, a lot of people from Florida. You're the first person from Oklahoma. I even had people from England, London, England, on the show. Yeah. But yeah,
you know what? I love people from London, England, from the UK because they always got that particular accent. Yeah, and, you know, they can be talking to you in a real proper way, but be deadly serious. So you got to be careful, you know?
Yeah.
Always love that.
A lot of people from St. Louis. Are you born and raised in Oklahoma, or?
I'm born and raised in Oklahoma, but I traveled across the country a lot. For about 12 years, I worked in federal contracting, so it gave me opportunities to kind of explore the country. And there's no place like home. America's beautiful, but Oklahoma City's where it's at.
Yeah, I gotta make it out there one day. Like I have never really ventured to like I've gone to Florida a few times, a lot. New York, obviously, New Jersey, but out west, I think the only place I've been to is California. Well, I went out.
Yeah. Hey, I just came back from California, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, out in LA.
We were quiet or training? Like, what were you doing out there?
Well, some business partners of mine, we made a trip out west to meet up with some guys, an individual named Masonic. He produces these very particular seeds that are very important and very lucrative. So we went and had a conversation with him, got to meet him. He's a big name. I had no clue. My guys just took me on a trip. We went out there. We went to Vegas, you know, just saw out west. Maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago, actually. And LA's it's a beautiful place. California is a beautiful place. But the traffic, I could do without. I used to complain about Oklahoma traffic, but that traffic is a whole other.
And they don't believe in. I've only been there like for a weekend, and I just remember they do not believe in red lights. you gotta be very defensive driver in California. Those people do not care about lights. They go right through it, man.
Yes, for sure.
Crazy. Yeah, man. So give us a little background on yourself. So you're from Oklahoma. How'd you get into MMA?
You know, back when I was about 5 years old, my dad was a military man, and he always had his exercises routine, and he had those posters, you know, those posters that were posted up, showed you how to land your knuckles and where to land it, and he always had books flying around, like the Tao of Jeet Kune Do and things like this.
Oh, I actually do.
I'm sorry?
I actually do. I have that book.
Yeah. That book changed the whole world for me.
Yeah, man. I was a big Bruce Lee fanatic when I was.
Yes, the tower, the way of the intercepting fist and all of that, the
Yeah,
Wing
yeah,
Chun, the Kung Fu.
yeah.
I was on all of that at like 5 years old, believe it or not. And my dad would not let me take true traditional classes until I turned 6. So my 6th
Okay.
birthday, I woke up, I said, Dad, I'm 6, enroll me now. And he enrolled me in a place called Haggerty's. A gentleman by the name of Sensei Haggerty, God rest his soul, had a karate school. You know, each knee, san chi, learned all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
But as I got older, I
Japanese.
was like, Dad, this isn't Kung Fu. This isn't the Bruce Lee Jeet Kune Do. Come on, Dad, where it's at? So I had to venture off into my own discovery of what it was, you know, and really adopt that way of having a style of no way of having a style, you know. So I really embrace that. So that obviously sucked me into MMA just naturally, you know, over time.
Okay, so that your first style of karate was Japanese, I take it, right? Because I see you're speaking Japanese there. Yeah.
Well, actually, my first style outside of well, I consider my style starting when I was 5, 6 years old, doing push-ups, blocks, punching the wooden dummies, all that with my dad. I had this belief system that, okay, if I put on a uniform and I dress like the guy in the, you know, in the Bruce Lee movie, then I get a special superpower. You know, you're a kid, you want to be a hero. So those
Yeah.
type of things were in my mind. But as I got older, I began to realize that I had no way the whole time. You know, I would punch, I would wrestle, I would kick, I would knee, I would go for submissions way back then before I even had any clue. It was just a natural thing, you know.
Okay. And did you study like any other styles formally other than karate? Like, did you go into like kung fu or wrestling
Definitely.
or?
Definitely. As time went on and I started watching guys like Randy Couture and Frank Shamrock, I started getting into jujitsu. When I saw, I'll be honest, in 95, 96, when I saw Mark the Hammer Coleman headbutting people into oblivion, I was like, I don't want no part of that. I was done. I was never going to mess with that again. But as time went on, Frank Shamrock and before him, Gracie, which I didn't understand then with the gi on, but without the gi on, you saw guys like Frank Shamrock finish guys like Kevin Jackson or John Lover. These are fights that are just missing in some people's history of MMA, but those fights were monumental to building my style in guys from that era, you know.
Yeah, I was a big in terms of MMA. I was like a big Frank Shamrock, and I like his brother Ken too.
Yeah,
I always thought Frank was a little. Frank, I think, was a little ahead of the game.
he
You know?
was ahead of the game. He was ahead. He was before his time, you know. And I hate him and Dana White had that friction because who knows what the middleweight division would have been if we'd have got see Frank Shamrock carry out his tenure as middleweight champion, you know.
Yeah. But Dana White always had like weird relationships with the fighters. I don't know if it's
Right.
more him or the fighters. I don't know.
Why though? Why? I mean, why?
He never really, he managed Tito. They had a falling out. I mean, it's obviously over money, obviously. But, it's just the way it is. I really don't know if it's more the fighter or Dana. But when you hear about the other promoters, like Cooker from Bellator, and I forget not too much about the guys that run Pride, but you never really hear any of the fighters really complain about the promoter. You always hear a fighter complain about Dana, though, like at least one or two of them.
Yeah, because Scott Coker, I don't ever hear anything about Scott Coker or.
Never hear anything bad about him, right?
Hey, now don't get me wrong. I've met some underground regional area slicers out there that promote MMA, but for the big guys, yeah, Dana White seems to get a bad rep, but he seems to be like a fun guy. He wants to make the fights happen, and I appreciate that. We don't have to wait 25 years to see a fight we should have saw, a long time ago type of thing, you know?
Yeah, and he does what I like about Scott is he's not afraid to mix different organizations and
Oh, yes. Hey, like the Pride Days.
Yeah. And then he still does like the belts. He has the Bellator tournaments. I forget what's going on. I don't know if it's the lightweight tournament. It's not like all in one. Actually, not too long ago, they had King Mo. They had 2 fights in one day. They just separated the rounds, right? I think the championship 3 rounds. The regular elimination rounds were just 2 rounds. So now getting back to you, so you evolved, and then so when did you start wrestling and actually like doing some MMA fights? Was that later on, or when you were younger, or?
It was probably about 1999. 1999, I was really big in football and track, and I had all these opportunities, but I really didn't know how to take hold of them. You know, I had offers in track. I was state champion track runner. I had offers in football. I was like in the top 10 gridiron greats. I had a lot of things going on, but I remember saying to myself, I said, if none of this takes me anywhere, I said a prayer. I was like, God, if this doesn't take me anywhere, I'm going to be a combat artist. I'm going to be the best I can be. And, you know, needless to say, I'm not in the NFL. I didn't end up playing Major League Baseball. I could have swear I was going to take over Hank Aaron's record. That never happened. So here I am doing the thing that I did when I very, very first was a pup. And that was, Dad, I want to fight. And that was when I was 5 years old. And I've come full circle to that. I have a passion for it. I breathe it again. You know, that fire's still there. And that's what I love at this point. You know, that's where I'm at. But not just that. I want to teach people how to defend themselves. I don't necessarily like combat for the sake of hurting an individual. Well, when it started for me, it was more about self-defense. You know, sometimes someone's going to try to impose their will on you, whether you want peace or not. You better be ready to defend yourself. I grew up in a tough neighborhood, had to learn some hard lessons. You can have friends that turn enemy overnight, and you have no clue what for, but be ready to defend yourself. There's no problem with defending one's life. So I really took that philosophy and that approach to defending myself, and not just myself, people I love, people around me, you know, because you hurt them, you hurt me. So we're all encompassed as try to be one big family. But if an outsider comes to hurt us, we're going to defend ourselves. So starting with that, it's hand-to-hand combat. You don't always have a weapon available. People are, well, I have a gun or I have a knife and this, that. Hey, I've done security all over the state of Oklahoma. Believe me, there are situations where in a moment's notice, traumatic incidents are occurring and there are no weapons. And you better be ready to defend yourself. So take jiu-jitsu, Greco-Roman wrestling, freestyle wrestling, you know, all these, and there's different blends of jiu-jitsu. And then there's different styles of stand-up. You know, in America, we concentrate on the hands a lot, just boxing. But there are other techniques, elbows, knees, you know, the Muay Thai. We got to adopt these things. And it's fun to see because when I was younger, we used to call it NHB. And it was underground. You really couldn't do this stuff. You did it without getting paid, and you might possibly go to jail as a result. You know, if somebody got seriously injured, there was no real insurance coverage. People were, you know, doing whatever they want before you got the federal MMA ID. And to see it thrive, remember Sheerdog and Fight Finder, we were all on there typing people's names in, seeing their stats. You had Norgueras out there. You had Rico Rodriguez's out there. And to see this sport truly become, I turned on regular ABC TV the other day, and there was a UFC fight, just blew my mind. And to know we're a part of that, you know, I love being a part of that history.
That's great, man. Great. So do you have any like big events coming up for yourself now? I mean, I know.
Actually, I have a guy from Ukraine. He's the #1 fighter in Ukraine. He called me out a few times. He's my friend. I don't even know why, but those guys think different. They're like, hey, man, it's his business, and I'm trying to survive. And he wants to fight me. So I told him I'll fight him in April if he wants to fight for real, for real. He wants me to fight him in March. I said, I need a little more time. Be realistic. I'll fight you in April. But, you know, he's out there. His name is Askar. You can look him up. I think he's like 26-6 or something. He's legit. And, yeah, I said I'll dance with him. No problem. Just come with the money. And we'll hook up and dance. But in addition to that, as a matter of fact, we got an event going on tonight. This is in Oklahoma City. This is called Blunt Force Trauma. These are up-and-coming fighters around Oklahoma City, and these guys are going to fight their heart outs tonight. It's interesting, okay? At these events, there are also people who are medically licensed to consume medical cannabis. So it's a weird thing. You're in a place where people are doing martial arts and combat, and you look across the room, this guy might have a beer. You look over here, this guy might have a whole joint or something like this. You know, it's a crazy atmosphere at MMA. It's happening in the ring, you know? It's just nuts. So if you get a chance, check it out. Be fun times, and look for me here in the near future because we're going to make this happen. This is the year.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I guess it's great you're live today, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
I love it. I love that. It just all coalesced.
man. I'm live on Twitch, man. That's great. That's great. Yeah, there's some. So I've been to some like underground fights before, and you'll see like some crazy shit. I went to like this is like more than 17 years ago. A friend of mine, he fought. He called me up at work. You know, we were both workers. We worked full time, and he was doing sambo.
Russian
Right?
leg attacks.
Yeah. So he called me up and he's like, "Listen, I signed myself up for an MMA fight. You know, this is before the UFC took off. This is probably 2000. You know, it was
Okay.
popular, but it was before the Ultimate Fighter." And I'm like,
Right.
"You've been training?" He's like, I go to Sambo once a week and I run 10 minutes on a treadmill." I'm like, "When's your fight?" And it was like, "It's this Friday." I'm like, "I'm gonna pick you up and I'm driving you." I
Hey,
actually,
that's how it used to
I was
be.
ended up taking him to the hospital. So it was in
Wow.
it was in Brooklyn, and it was in a
It was underground up there at that point, right? It just
yeah,
became legal or something like this.
It's in a Russian neighborhood, and it's in those it was in an area where they normally have like ballerina dances, right? So you go in and they got it was like all mobbed up, dude. All the Russian mafia sitting there eating their lobster
Matryoshka dolls and
tails.
all that.
And then in the center of the whole like where everybody's eating, it was a ring. But yeah, my friend actually, I mean, he lost, but he did pretty good considering he wasn't really training.
Right.
He's just a very, strong guy. But yeah, I'll never forget that because I actually purposely wanted to take him because I thought I was going to have to take him to the hospital. I didn't want him to drive because he was actually going to drive himself. And I'm like, "No, you're not driving." Yeah, man.
Hey, but that's how it used to be then. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just how it was. So yeah, it's come a long way. It's kind of it's bittersweet because warriors grow old, and then there's always that time to come to check out and to come to terms with that, and it approaches everybody. And you still have to find ways to embrace the game and outlets like this. Yeah, we love you. We appreciate you for doing things like this, keeping it out there, keeping that fire burning for MMA and for the sport and just dialogue. Appreciate that.
I love it, man. I love it. I was actually just watching a little. I didn't finish it, Blades. So don't tell me if you've seen it. Blades fight. Hey, I didn't get to watch it, so I try to avoid social. I know someone got knocked out. I just like when you hit Facebook, I like skim through it, or MMA because I know I'm gonna watch it today, and then I gotta watch tonight's event. But yeah, man, I love MMA, man. I love the martial arts. So do you teach martial arts at all, or you just train and that's it? Like, or do you
Well, I just started training individuals actually I did it off and on since probably 2008. I became a professional in 2005. Off and on, sporadically throughout there, I trained some individuals, but I wasn't really ready for that responsibility. I tried it for a while, but I just couldn't keep a regular schedule. Life was kind of chaotic. Here lately, though, in the last, I bet say about month and a half, 2 months, I've been regularly training individuals at this location in Midwest City, Oklahoma. We call it The Basics. And I'm also opening up my own specific school. It's going to be called Thundercats MMA. And those will be where we're actually not only just training other fighters and training ourselves, and we're trying to be Alio Gracie with the MMA, right? Sometimes injury takes people out. There's a real thing about combat damage age. Some people retire very early in this sport because they took so much combat damage. We want to try to develop self-defense tactics, martial arts tactics that minimize the damage you take when you're out there competing. So we're trying to do that at Thundercats MMA and Basics in Oklahoma City. And right now, the future is bright. We're steadily getting new enrollees, and it's very cheap because it's our passion, but we want to keep the lights on. It's only $33 a month, So people come up and pay that much. They'd be like, "What? Are you serious?" Like, yeah, we just love to do it. So if you ever in town, you are welcome to come up and have it.
Do you rent the whole space out, or you rent like from an existing space from an existing gym, or? How's it work out?
Well, this gym is currently attached to another business endeavor that we got going on. So we just go next door between the two places, and we have mats and things in there. But we're opening up a whole nother location that's more geared towards traditional today's MMA rather than the old school garage tight hot box, sweat on the glass windows, dirt everywhere, that kind of grimy, rusty weights. We got those type of gyms, and we like to trade between the two, the Rocky Balboa style and the giant Russian style. You know, we go between the two to try to build up a mental stability for whatever the environment brings us, whether you're fighting in someone else's backyard or you're fighting at home, whether you're comfortable or uncomfortable, because a lot of these young guys growing up, they see the glitz and the glamour on TV, but in actuality, to get to that point, you're sleeping in, you know, Roach motels. You're fighting in a place that might hold 500 people. You don't know if the boxing commission is really the boxing commission. You just don't know. So these things happen on your way up the ladder. So we just want to educate people on those things if they really want to go on this journey of, like they used to say, so you want to be a fighter, huh?
Yeah. That famous Dana White line. Great though. Yeah, you got all these, like, so you're busy. You get your fighting and you're training people, and you get your own business going on there, different gyms. It's great. So if people wanted to get in touch with you, how would they get in touch with you? As like if they wanted to get in touch with you to fight, or if they wanted to get in touch with you to train in the gym, like what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, right now I have I just started, be patient with me. I just started back on social media. I took like an 8-year hiatus, tried to see what life was like without it. I didn't want to get socially programmed. I started seeing things like Edward Snowden and Cambridge Analytica. I had to step back and reevaluate my interaction. But then one day I was like, you know what? I don't care no more. So I got out here. So I did make a Facebook. You can look at me on Facebook at Reggie Cato. And my dad's out there, so you'll see my face rather than his. You can also see me at NATO Cato on Twitter.
Okay.
And you can actually catch me, I think, on Instagram, but I'm not sure how to get there. So just hit me up on Facebook. I'll respond.
That's great, though. That's great. And then what's the name of the event that's going on tonight? This way, one more time, so people know, like if they're in the area.
This event, if you're in the area, is called Blunt Force Trauma. If you come there and say my name, I will come to the door and get you in. I'll actually be commentating. So if there's a slight delay, please be patient with me, because I'll be commentating with my guy. His name is Jason Hurth. He runs USA Stars down in Moore, Oklahoma. Also, I want to give a shout out to Academy of Martial Arts. I was there training. They're one of the best Muay Thais around. USA Stars, one of the best judo places around. I mean, there's a lot of good MMA in Oklahoma. You know, Oklahoma is known for wrestling along with Iowa. We got that background. So there's just so much going on here. If you're looking to develop your MMA game, just heads up.
That's great, man. Hey, man. So it's great having you on the show. And I look forward to having you back. Maybe when you have that fight with your friend overseas, when you get close to that, if you want to promote that fight, you know where to get a hold of me now. You got my email, and we'll bring you back on the show, man.
Thank you so much, Mark, man. Thank you for having me. Much love, man. Be careful. Be peace.
Yeah, man. So everybody watching this, don't forget to also follow me, not only on this Twitch channel, but on my YouTube channel, the Marc The Shark MMA Show YouTube channel, my Facebook page, Marc The Shark MMA Show. Twitter is Marc BJJ Fighter. Instagram is Marc_Ritorto too. And don't forget to check out www.marcthesharkmmashow.com. Make a donation to support the channel. Buy a hoodie, t-shirt, mug, whatever. Buy something for your wife. We got multiple products on there. If you want to be on the podcast, sign up as a guest. If you want to be a sponsor on our show, hit the sponsor page. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Marc The Shark. Check him out.
Hey, baby.